Background tasks are those that run in the background without interfering with the primary process. In ASP.NET Core, background tasks are implemented as hosted services. It allows us to perform tasks outside of the main web thread, listen for changes to the data in the database, have long-running processes that respond to messages in the queues, etc. In this video, let's learn more about how to create background tasks as hosted services in ASP.NET Core applications. We will also learn how to register this and how it works internally. Hello everyone, my name is Rahul and welcome back to the YouTube channel. Recently I crossed the 5000 subscribers mark and I would like to thank each one of you for the love and support that you have given to this channel. I'll be continuing with videos on ASP.NET Core, Cloud, and also DevOps. So if this is of interest to you, please make sure to hit the subscribe button. Without much delay, let's head off right into my command line to create a new Web API project. I'll use the .NET CLI tool, so run .NET and use new and specify Web API to create a Web API project. This will create a new Web API project in the current folder. I'll be using the Rider IDE. So to open this in there, I'll use the Rider 64 and specify dot to open the current folder. I have the project open in Rider. So we have a background tasks project with the program.cs and the startup.cs. We also have a default controller, which is the weather forecast controller. The easiest way to create a background task in ASP.NET Core is to inherit from the class background service. To do that, let's go ahead and create a new class. So specify add and click class. Let's call this as my background service and inherit this from the background service class. To do that, let's go and specify background service. This comes from the Microsoft.extensions.hosting namespace. So let's select that and make sure to implement the missing members. This is going to add execute async method into this background service class that we have created. To keep things simple, let's remove this exception and write a console.writeLine statement inside of here. So we can specify from my background service and say execute async because that is the method that's getting called. Since this expects a task to be returned, let's specify return task.completed task. We now have a very simple background service that simply writes into the console when it is started. To register this into our application, let's navigate to startup.cs and under the configure services method, we can register this. If you're new to the configure services method, this is where the dependency injection is registered for this application. You can check out my video on dependency injection if you are new to that. We can call the services.add hosted service method and specify the generic type, which is the my background service type that we just created in this case. Now this registers the my background service that we just created as a hosted service in this particular application. Let's run this and make sure it's working as expected. The application is running. By default, the Web API template comes with Swagger setup, which is why we see this API page, which is of Swagger UI. If we switch back to Rider to see the console logs that's for this application, we can see that we have the statement from my background service and execute async called. So we have the background task successfully running in this case. Now, depending on your use case, you might have to inject different dependencies inside this background service to perform more meaningful tasks. For an example, let's go back to our my background service and inject in a logger to see how that works. So let's stop this, create a new constructor for our class and inject in a iLogger. So I can specify iLogger and also specify the class, which is the category type in the logger, and specify logger as the name. Let's create a backing property. So created underscore logger. Now instead of the console.writeLine, I can now use underscore logger.log information. Now I have injected in a logger as a dependency to my background service. If you're new to logging in ASP.NET Core, check out my linked video here. Now I did not change anything in the startup.cs because this is registered as a generic type, as a high hosted service. Now an iLogger is by default registered into the dependency injection container, so we don't have to explicitly register that type. So let's run this and make sure it works as expected. The application is running. So if we look at the console, we can see that there is an information statement from the myBackground service. This specifies from myBackground service and execute async as the message. Now since this is using the iLogger, that's why we see the category also specified, which was using the generic type that we added into iLogger. Currently, this background service is just getting executed when the application starts up and then returning a completed task, which means it will not be executed anymore. However, in real life, when we write background tasks, we might want it to run in a loop or trigger to external events, etc. So let's see how we can run this background task in a scheduled loop. You can either use the timer class from the .NET library to run a specific job at regular intervals. Alternatively, you can also use an infinite loop to run over a task until this application ends. Let's see how we can do that. Since we are getting in a cancellation token here inside our execute async task, we can use that to determine if the application is ended or not. Let's add in a while loop and use the stopping token and specify is cancellation requested. So this checks if the cancellation token is being cancelled. This usually happens when the application is going to stop. So let's specify that. Move this logging line inside the while block. Now, if we want to introduce a slight delay between executions of this while loop, we can add in a task.delay. So let's specify a wait and call the task.delay method. This accepts a time span or a milliseconds as an integer. So let's specify time spans from millisecond and specify 10. Now this also takes in a cancellation token, so let's pass in the stopping token, which we get as a parameter to the execute async call. Since we are awaiting inside this method, let's specify this as an async method. Now we can remove the task.completed task, which is no longer required. Since we need to run this loop as long as this cancellation requested is false, let's go make sure add a not before the boolean expression. So this will run until the application exit is called, or the cancellation is called on this particular task. Instead of from milliseconds, let's specify from seconds so that this is slightly slower when it logs the output. So let's run this to make sure everything is working as expected. The application is running. So here you can see that the myBackground service is getting called when the application starts. Now after this has written, it will go into a loop of 10 seconds. So this has written it again, which is here after the application start has happened. So every time it writes this, it waits for 10 seconds and then again writes it out into the console line. So in your real application, if you want a loop and check for something in every 10 seconds, you can use something similar. Now using this ensures that each of these checks does not overlap. So it waits until one is complete till the next one is triggered. While using a timer class, you might not be able to guarantee that. So depending on your use case, use whichever method that works for you. Now that we have a background service task running successfully at a regular interval, let's understand a bit more on how this works together. So navigating into the background service class in Rider, it shows me the implementation details of that class. Here you can see this is implementing an interface I hosted service. Now this also specifies the abstract task execute async method that we had overridden in our background service class. If we further navigate into the I hosted service, we can see this has two methods, which is the start async and the stop async methods. Both of them gets in the cancellation token that we also saw in our execute async method. If we go back to the background service class, we can see this is already implementing the start async and the stop async method. The start is simply creating a cancellation token and then using that to pass on to the execute async method call, which will be implemented in whoever is inheriting the background service class. Now, if this returning task does not complete immediately, it keeps running the task in the background until the application shutdown is called, when the stop async method would be automatically triggered. Now in this case, with the stop async, it keeps track of the executing task and waits on it to complete. It also has a default timeout for which it keeps waiting. Now since these are virtual methods inside the background service class, we can also override this inside our myBackground service class. Let's see an example of that. Let's navigate back to myBackground service. Inside here, let's write override and specify the stop async method. Inside of this, we can use the underscore logger and again write a function to see what is happening. So let's call underscore logger dot log information and specify a similar message as before. So let's copy this as from my background service and specify stop async as the method. So we know that this is called from the stop method. If we want, we can also pass in a date time to see how this is all working. So let's pass in a date time. So let's say date time as a parameter and say date time dot now. We can also use this inside the stop async method. So let's copy and paste that. So let's run this to see this in action. So when the application starts, we can see the execute async method being called, and it also has the date time. Now if you see, the next execute async is also called 10 seconds after the current one. This is approximately the same because I'm not doing much work inside that method. To exit this application gracefully, I can use Ctrl+C inside this terminal where this is running. So if I specify that, this is going to shut down and then call my background task stop async method. So if I press that combination, you can see here the application is shutting down, is getting called, after which the my background service stop async method is getting called. So this is gracefully shutting down our background service. However, note that if the application is not gracefully shut down, then this won't be called. You could imagine someone pulling off the power cable, or even in Rider, if I want to simulate this, I can simply use the stop task here, which will abruptly close that particular running task. So let me run this application again. We have the execute async method getting called and the application has started. Now this will start looping every 10 seconds, but if I was to use the stop button, it is going to abruptly shut down. So earlier I had used Ctrl+C to gracefully shut down, which is why we saw that messages. Now, if I use the stop button in here, this is going to abruptly shut down this running process, which is why we don't see any shutting down messages nor the stop method that we had overridden. So any code that you have written inside the stop async method necessarily need not be called always, which is something you have to be aware of when writing background services. To register this my background service, inside the startup.cs class, we had used the add hosted service. Let's navigate into the add hosted service method to understand what is happening there. Here, this is adding it into the services collection as a singleton instance. So this is specifying it as a I hosted service and adding in the type that we pass in. However, note that this is a singleton instance, which means only a single instance of the background task will exist inside your application. Now this brings in a problem when you are using a dependency injected service that is scoped to the container lifetime, because by default you cannot inject a scoped lifetime service inside a singleton instance. To understand this a bit more, let's go into the Solution Explorer and create a new class. So let's create a my scope service class. So let's specify my scope service and implement this from an I scoped service interface. So let's create an I scoped service as an interface. So let's create an interface inside the same class and specify a method here. For now, let's simply say void write because we'll be simply writing something inside the console. So let's implement this members. If we want, we can inject in the iLogger and use that as well. So let's specify iLogger, my scope service, and specify this as logger. So let's add a backing property and start using this inside the write method. To understand the scoping of this service, let's add a new ID property which will be instantiated in the constructor. So let's specify that as a new GUID. So anytime this class is created, it is going to create a new property value for this ID. Let's create that property inside this class and use that inside our write method. So let's call underscore logger dot log information and specify that this is from my scoped service and also pass in the ID value. So let's specify the ID as a parameter to the log method. So I simply have as iScoped interface, which has a write method, which is simply writing out a GUID into its logger whenever it is run. This GUID will be new every time a new instance of this class is getting created. To start using this, let's navigate back into startup.cs. under the services, let's dependency inject this. So since we want to specify it as a scoped service, let's use add scoped and specify the interface and the implementation. So let's say iScoped service and also pass in the implementation of that. So this is going to register this as a scoped lifetime inside our container collection. To start using this, let's go into my background service and inject the iScoped service. So let's specify iScoped service. Let's create a backing field and start using this inside our application. So let's say underscore scope service dot write. This is going to simply write the GUID into the console. Let's run this to see if this works or not. Now when the application starts up, it throws up an exception which is saying some services are not able to be constructed. It says it cannot consume a scoped service, which is the iScoped service, from the singleton instance of the hosted service. Now in these scenarios where you want to use a scoped service from within your singleton background task, you can inject in the iService provider and fake a scope within the background task. Let me show you how to do that. So let's stop this because this is not going to work. Let's navigate to our background service, and instead of the iScoped service, let's inject in the iService provider. Let's rename this and specify service provider. Let's make sure to create a backing property and remove this underscore scope service because we don't need that anymore. Now, using the service provider, we can fake a scope within this method execution. So inside the while loop, let's specify using where scope is equal to and specify the underscore service provider and create a new scope. Now this is creating a new scope from the container instance. Now that we have a scope created, let's use this scope to create the scoped service. So we can say where scoped service. Now using the scope that we have created, we can call the service provider dot get required service method and pass in the iScoped service interface. Now this is going to create an instance of the scope service within this scope that we have created. Now to start using this, let's remove the underscore and use the scope service dot write method call. Let's see if this is working as expected. The application is running successfully. So if we navigate back into Rider, we can see here that the background task is getting called. So it specifies the my background service and also calls the my scope service log method. So here you can see that there is a GUID that starts with 45EE and ends with 9991. Now if we were to scroll down a bit, we can see there's other calls inside the my scope service as well. These GUIDs are all different because in each run we create a new scope and instantiate a new instance of that particular scoped service class. Now you could use a similar approach to inject in any of your dependencies and start using that from within your background tasks. I hope this helps you to understand more about background tasks and how you can use hosted services to run background tasks inside an ASP.NET application. We have just covered the basic concepts of background tasks. In a future video, I will be covering about exception handling and also a few more advanced concepts when using background tasks. If you want to be notified when that comes out, please make sure to hit the subscribe button. It also helps me to grow the channel and also keeps you notified anytime a new video comes here. Now, if you like this video, please make sure to hit the like button and also drop in any questions or feedback in the comments. I make sure to reply to each one of you and I enjoy doing that. Thank you and see you soon.